Ladies and gentlemen, there's a moment every man secretly dreads, one silent move you make that hits him harder than any argument, any message, any goodbye. It's the moment he realizes your energy isn't his to rely on anymore. The moment he reaches for you out of habit and you're no longer there. That quiet shift, that calm distance, that subtle pullback, it doesn't push him away. It wakes him up. Because nothing makes a man miss you more than the silence of a woman who finally remembers her worth. When a man truly misses you, he doesn't always announce it with dramatic gestures or emotional confessions. Most of the time, it shows up in a quiet, almost invisible shift in his behavior. A shift you only recognize when you stop chasing, stop over-explaining, stop trying to make something happen, and instead allow space to speak louder than words ever could. That silent move, the one most people underestimate, is the space you create when you step back and let him feel the reality of your absence. Because when you step back, something powerful happens. He starts to notice what life feels like without the consistent energy, warmth, presence, appreciation, and emotional connection you brought into his world. And that absence doesn't feel peaceful to him, it feels like a missing piece. That quiet moment when he feels the gap is the exact moment he realizes how much he actually valued you. But here's what most people misunderstand. This isn't about games. It's not about withholding affection, ignoring someone intentionally, or trying to manipulate someone into longing for you. It's about recognizing that presence is powerful, and so is absence. When your presence has value, your absence naturally has impact. And when someone truly cared, even if they were distracted, confused, or taking you for granted, your silence reveals something to them that your words never could. Think about how often you tried to express what you needed, hoping he would understand. You spoke up, you clarified, you texted, you explained, you put effort into making him see you. But sometimes it's not your voice that wakes a man up, it's the sudden quiet when that voice is no longer there. That's when he starts replaying conversations, revisiting moments, questioning his choices, and remembering things he brushed off when he was comfortable, distracted, or complacent. The silent move isn't you disappearing, it's you choosing to pour your energy back into yourself. It's you choosing not to chase someone who isn't showing up for you. It's you reclaiming your time, your peace, your standards, and your self-respect. And that shift changes everything. Because when a woman shifts her focus from him to herself, the dynamic flips. Suddenly, he's no longer the center of your emotional world. Suddenly, he feels the weight of his own effort or lack of effort. A man can ignore your words. He can dismiss your reminders. He can overlook your needs. But he can't outrun the feeling that hits him when you stop trying. That feeling is unmistakable. It's the emotional gravity that pulls him back toward the person he didn't realize he was losing. And here's what makes it so powerful. Your silence is not passive, it's active, it's intentional. It's a declaration that says, if you want access to me, you must earn it. Not by being perfect, not by saying the right things, but by showing up in a way that matches the energy and effort you naturally give. When a man misses you in silence, he begins to do something incredibly revealing. He starts seeking small ways to reconnect. He may not launch into a dramatic apology or pour out every emotion he's been holding back, but he will show up differently. He'll check in, he'll test the waters, he'll ask how you're doing in a way that feels more intentional. He'll linger a little longer in conversation. He'll make plans instead of excuses. He'll try to close the emotional distance, because the silence taught him what your presence truly meant. And the most important part, you didn't have to convince him. You didn't have to beg for attention or prove your worth. Your quiet decision to step back did more than any long message ever could. It allowed him to feel the consequences of his own actions. It allowed him to recognize what he was losing. It allowed him to choose you, not out of pressure, but out of awareness. The silent move also protects you. It protects your heart from being drained by someone who isn't matching your effort. It protects your energy from being wasted on someone who isn't giving you the emotional consistency you deserve. It protects your dignity from the emotional exhaustion of chasing someone who hasn't shown he's ready to meet you where you are. And here's the truth no one talks about. The right man won't let silence linger for long. He won't sit comfortably knowing there's distance between you. He won't allow your absence to become a new normal. If he cares, truly cares, your silence won't push him away. It will pull him toward you because he will understand that the only reason you stepped back was because he stopped stepping forward. But the wrong man will use the silence as an opportunity to slip further away, not because you did anything wrong, but because he was never invested enough to begin with. And that clarity is a gift. Your silence didn't make him lose interest. It revealed that he never had the proper level of interest in the first place. And that revelation saves you from months, even years, of trying to make someone love at the level you naturally do. The silent move isn't a test for him. It's a revelation for you. It shows you who is capable of meeting your heart, your energy, your loyalty, and your love. It shows you who values your presence and who only valued the attention you gave. It shows you who steps up when you step back. And in that silence, something else happens, something more important than whether he misses you or not. You begin to hear yourself again. You reconnect with your own voice, your own desires, your own intuition. You remember what you want in a partner. You remember the standards you set before you cared for someone so deeply that you overlooked your own needs. A silent move is not about withdrawal, it's about clarity. It's about alignment. It's about choosing yourself in moments where you used to abandon yourself for someone else's comfort. And choosing yourself always leads to better love, whether it's with him or someone who shows up in a way that leaves no room for confusion. So when you step back and he starts to feel the ache of missing you, understand this. It wasn't the silence that created the connection. It was the value you brought to his life long before the silence ever arrived. The silence simply made that value undeniable. And when he feels it, he won't stay silent. He won't let the distance grow. He won't leave you wondering. He'll show you with actions, effort, and consistency that he knows what he feels, he knows what he wants, and he knows what he risks losing if he doesn't show up fully. Because the silent move doesn't just mean he misses you. It means he's finally aware of what you truly meant. And when that awareness hits him, it doesn't arrive in a loud, dramatic moment. It shows up in the smallest, most human ways. Maybe it's the way he scrolls through old conversations. Not because he needs information, but because he misses how he felt when he talked to you. Maybe it's the way he hesitates before going to sleep because he realizes he didn't hear from you today. Maybe it's the way he sees something funny or something meaningful and instinctively thinks, asterisk, I want to share this with her, asterisk, only to feel that sting when he remembers you're no longer as accessible as you once were. He feels that sting because your presence wasn't casual to him. It mattered. It anchored him in subtle ways he didn't fully understand until the silence pointed it out. Because silence is not the absence of connection, it's the mirror that reflects how deep the connection really went. If it meant nothing, he wouldn't feel the shift. If you were forgettable, the gap wouldn't feel so heavy. But the fact that he feels it, even in the quiet moments he never used to think twice about, tells you everything about the impact you truly had. This is where the dynamic starts to shift inside him. He no longer sees you as the woman who's endlessly available, the one he can count on to text first, to understand his silence, to smooth out any tension, to keep the emotional momentum going. Without that effort from you, he begins to understand the work you were consistently putting in. He begins to see how much of the emotional load you carried. And for the first time, he begins to question whether he was doing enough in return. And that question isn't just uncomfortable for him, it's transformative. Because men don't change when they feel pressured. They don't change when they feel chased. They don't change when they feel reassured that no matter what they do, they'll never lose you. They change when they feel the reality of losing something they didn't realize they were depending on. That's what your silence does. It breaks the illusion of comfort. It wakes him up from the numbness that routine and predictability create. It forces him to evaluate what life looks like without the emotional oxygen you brought. And when a man realizes he's been breathing easier because of you, he doesn't take that lightly. He starts thinking about the moments he dismissed, the invitations he declined, the short replies he sent when you deserved real conversation, the times he assumed you'd always be there. And the more he reflects, the more he feels the quiet regret of someone who didn't give enough when he had the chance. And that regret is the spark that makes him take action, real action. He's not coming back out of convenience. He's not coming back because he's bored. He's not coming back because he wants attention. He's coming back because the silence gave him clarity, and clarity gave him courage. But here's the part most people don't realize. The silent move doesn't just transform him, it transforms you. Because while he's reflecting on what he lost, you're remembering who you are without constantly trying to hold a connection together. You're rediscovering what it feels like to breathe without anxiety. You're reconnecting with the power you forgot you had because you spent so much time trying to prove your worth to someone who didn't always make it clear that he appreciated it. You start to see yourself through a different lens, not as someone waiting to be chosen, but as someone who is choosing peace, choosing standards, choosing alignment, choosing not to settle for someone who only shows up when it's convenient. And that shift makes you more magnetic than any strategy, script, or game ever could. Because nothing is more attractive than a woman who stands firmly in her value without trying to convince anyone of it. And that magnetism is what pulls him toward you in a different way. He's not just missing the comfort you've awakened, his admiration. He sees the self-respect. He sees the emotional maturity. He sees the confidence that doesn't waver in silence. And admiration is far more powerful than attachment alone, because admiration inspires effort. When you were always available, he admired you, but he didn't realize the depth of what he admired. In silence, he sees it clearly. He sees the strength. He sees the grace. He sees the steadiness. He sees the rare combination of softness and boundaries that he didn't fully understand before. And that understanding makes him want to meet you at a higher level. So when he reaches out, notice the difference. It's not just a hello. It's not just a check-in. It's not just a lazy attempt to see if you'll respond. The tone shifts. The intention shifts. The effort shifts. He starts conversations that have depth. He asks questions that show curiosity. He brings more presence. He offers clarity instead of confusion. He tries instead of assuming. And yet, the silent move isn't about rewarding him for this. It's about watching how he shows up consistently. Not just emotionally, but behaviorally. Because real growth isn't temporary. Real interest doesn't vanish after a few days of attention. Real effort isn't conditional. A man who truly misses you doesn't just miss the moments. He misses the connection, the partnership, the emotional safety, the inspiration he felt around you. But as he steps forward, something else becomes clear. You're no longer entering the dynamic the way you once did. You're not falling back into overgiving mode. You're not ignoring red flags for the sake of connection. You're not shrinking yourself to make the relationship easier. You're grounded now. You're discerning. You're evaluating. You're choosing with intention, not emotion alone. And that is the greatest shift of all. Because when you choose from value instead of fear, from clarity instead of desperation, from calm confidence instead of worry that you'll lose him, you become a version of yourself that naturally attracts a better version of him. He feels that shift, and it changes the way he approaches you. He understands that if he wants to be in your life, he can't give you the minimum. He can't rely on your patience to carry things. He can't take your effort for granted. Your silence taught him that access to you is a privilege, not a guarantee. And this is what the silent move reveals most clearly. Either he rises or he fades. Either he steps into the man he's capable of being, or he proves he was never that man to begin with. Either way, you win. Because you don't lose anything by choosing yourself. You don't lose anything by setting a standard. You don't lose anything by stepping back and letting the truth reveal itself. The silence doesn't just make him miss you. It makes him see you, the real you, the valuable you, the woman he didn't appreciate fully until the noise of the world quieted and he realized the only thing missing was you.